Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, today we will introduce the actual syllabus, that is the design and analysis of algorithms.
Sir, చాలా
Okay, let us start with a fundamental question. Given a certain problem, how do you solve it on a computer? There are different ways to solve the problem by using a computer. But however, some intelligence or clever is required to design a fast algorithm. Our main course goal in this subject is to design a fast algorithms. We'll come to know the meaning of the word fast in a few minutes. That's what I'm saying here. Our main course goal is to design a fast algorithms. See, for that, let us take one simple example. That is the problem. The problem is to find the greatest GCD of two numbers. Let us take two numbers m and n, find their greatest common divisor. All of you know the definition of GCD, that is the greatest common divisor. GCD of a comma b equal to d, where d is some positive integer. D should divide a as well as d should divide what? B. Let us take two numbers 4 and 8. Find out the divisors of 4. The divisors of 4 are 1, 2 and 4. 1, 2 and 4. And the divisors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, 8. Out of these, the common divisors, the greatest common divisor is what? 4. That's why, therefore, we are getting GCD is equal to what? 4.
4.
That's why we can say that GCD of 4, 8 is equal to 4. Because 4 divides 8 as well as 4 divides what? 4.
4.
That's why we can say that GCD of 4, 8 is what? 4.
4.
I think all of you understood this.
Yes, sir.
Now let us move further. See, today I am going to introduce two simple algorithms. One is the simple school level algorithm, another one is the Euclid's algorithm, so that we'll come to know the meaning of what is the meaning of the fast algorithm. In this subject, we are only interested in developing the algorithms that gives the answers very quickly. They are called as what? The fast algorithms.
Fastest algorithm.
First, let us see the most elementary algorithm, that is the school level algorithm. See, these are some of the steps of the school level algorithm. The first step says, take the number m. Assume that you have two numbers m and n. I need to factorize m. That is, find out the prime factors, that is m1, m2 and so on and so forth up to mk, such that m is equal to m1 times, m2 times, m3 times and so on and so forth up to mk. Let us move on to the step 2. Take another number n, factorize n. That is, find the prime factors n1, n2, and so on to nk, such that n is equal to n1 times n2 times, and so on and so forth up to nk. The final step is identify common factors and return the results. This is the simple school level algorithm you might have studied in your school days. Now let us move on to the one more algorithm that is called as the Euclid's algorithm. This is one of the famous algorithm. This was developed by a mathematician called as the Euclid. Even there were no computers. All of you might have used this algorithm in your first semester while finding the GCD of two numbers. It has 2 to 3 steps. Writing in the form of a procedure. See, in this subject, we are not worrying about the syntax. We are only interested in conveying the logic to the person. So the step is like this. It takes 2 arguments, m and n. They are the positive integers. The first step says, while m does not divide n, then r is equal to n mod m, n is equal to m, and m is equal to r. The same step has to be repeated until this condition is satisfied. M does not divide n. Now let us, after performing all these operations, your GCD is stored in a variable called as what? M. Finally, you are going to return the GCD, that is m, to the main function. If you want to understand these two algorithms, let us take one simple example. See, the example here is, let us take m is equal to 36 and n is equal to 48. First, let us apply the school level algorithm. What is the school level algorithm says? Take the number m and find the prime factors of m. That is,
mute ಐತೆ
take the first number m and find out the prime factors of
ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ವೇನಾ
then
ಹೌದಾ ಆಯ್ತು ಆಫ್ ಆಯ್ತು ನೋಡು
what I'm doing here is
ಹಲೋ
I'm taking m is equal to 36. I'm finding the prime factors. For example, 2 18s are 36, 2 9s are 38, 18, and 3 3s are 19. Then what are the prime factors of 36? 2 into 2 into 3 into 3. These are the prime factors of what? 36. Similarly, let us take another number n is equal to 48. Find out the prime factors of 48. How do you find out the prime factors of 48?
ಯಾರೋ ಏನೋ
2 24s are 48, 2 12s are 24, 2 6s are 12, 2 3s are 6. Finally, the prime factors of 48 are 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 3. These are the prime factors of the 48. See, whenever I want to find out the prime factors, first you start with the first prime number. Always the first prime number is 2, the next prime number is 3, and the next prime number is 5. Like that, we need to find out the prime factors. See, out of this, the last step says identify common factor and return the results. See, in this problem, I am identifying the 2 is the common factor for m and n, as well as one more 2 is there. Then finally 3 is also the common factor. If you multiply all these common factors, 2 into 2 into 3, then you are going to get the GCD as what? 12. Let us take the same number and apply our Euclid's algorithm. See, in the right hand side, I have written the Euclid's algorithm. The first step says, while m does not divide n, here m is 36, n is 48. Let us go for the first iteration. 36 does not divide 48. Definitely 36 will not divide 48. Whenever I say one number divides another number, that should not leave any remainder. But here 36 will not divide 48 as per the first step of the Euclid's algorithm. Then if this condition is satisfied, go to the second step. R is equal to n mod m. The value of n is 48 mod 36. If I divide 48 by 36, the remainder what you are going to get is what? 12.
Well,
Next step is n equal to m. N is equal to m. What is the value of n now? Previous value of n is 48. 48 will be replaced by m. What is the value of present value of m? 36.
36.
Yeah, that will be copied to what? N. Now final step
N.
of m is equal to what? R. What is the recent
R.
value of R?
12.
12 will be copied to m. This is the first
M.
iteration. This is the first iteration.
First iteration.
Now let us go for the second iteration. The second iteration, as usual, while m does not divide n, what is the value of m here? 12.
M.
What is the value of
12.
n? The recent value of n? 30.
36.
Yeah. 12 does not divide 36. No. If we divide 12 by 36, the remainder is what? 0. The condition is
0.
what? False. If the condition is false, then the statement within this loop will not be executed. It will execute the
Executed.
statement after the end. What is the statement after the end? Return m.
Return M.
Return m is what? Return m. What is the recent value of m?
12.
12. That will be
12.
the three of the numbers 36 and what? 48. Now, let us compare the school level algorithm with the Euclid's algorithm. See, if I take the school level algorithm, if I want to find out the prime factors for m is equal to 36 and n is equal to 48, first I need to divide 2 by 36 by 2, 2 18s are 36, 2 9s are 18, 3 3s are 9. Here approximately I am doing 4 divisions. Here approximately for finding 48 I am doing what? 5 divisions. Approximately saying, exactly I am not saying. Approximately we are performing 4 divisions. Here we are performing 5 divisions. 4 plus 5 totally how many divisions? Approximately 9 divisions.
9.
This for finding the GCD of what? 36 and 48. Now let
48.
us compare the same operations with the Euclid's algorithm. Here, all of you can carefully observe. In the first iteration, if I want to check 36 does not divide 48, that is one division. That is one division. Now, after that, in the second iteration, if I want to terminate from the loop, because 12 does not divide 36, that is totally how many divisions? Approximately how many divisions? This is one division. Another one is 12 does not divide 36, that is one more division. Total approximate divisions are what? 2.
2.
That means I can say that your Euclid's algorithm performs better than what your what? School level algorithm.
School level.
Because the number of divisions are more in school level algorithm compared to what? The Euclid's algorithm. Okay. Now let us take one more example. Let us execute the school level algorithm as well as Euclid's algorithm. Okay. As usual, first let us apply the school level algorithm. M is equal to 434, N is equal to 966. If you divide, if I want to first step says find out the prime factors of M. Then second step says find out the prime factors for what? N. Then third step says identify the common factors and return the result. Okay, first let's take 434. If we want to find out the prime factors, first I am going to start with 2. Then next I am going to start with what? The next prime number is 3. Next prime number is 5. Next prime number is what? 7. If I divide 217 by 7, then the quotient is what? 31. That's why the prime factors of 434 are 2 into 7 into 31. Now let us take the one more number, that is 966. If I want to find out the prime factors, let us take the first prime number 2. If I divide 966, then 2 4s are 8, 2 8 is 6, 2 3s are 6. Then similarly, if I find out all the prime factors, then the prime factors for 966 is 2 into 3 into 7 into 23. That's why I'm going to get 2 into 3 into 7 into 23 is what? 966. Now out of these, the common factors I have underlined. In M and N, the common factors are 2 and 7. That's why the GCD is equal to what? 2 into 7, that is equal to how much? 14.
14.
This is how we can perform by using the
ಒಬ್ಬ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡವನು ವಿಡಿಯೋನ ಅವ್ರದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿವಿ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು
Let us find out the GCD of two numbers once again by applying the Euclid's algorithm.
ಹುಡುಗಿರೆಲ್ಲ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು
M is equal to 434, N is equal to 966. I'm going fast.
No, sir.
yes
I'm going fast or slow. Are you understanding?
No, sir. It's okay. Yes, sir.
Are you understanding? Okay.
Yes, sir. We are understanding.
Let us apply the first step. While M does not divide N, what is the value of M? 434. N is how much?
434. 966.
966. 434 does not divide 96. Yes, the condition is what? Because the remainder is what? 98. Whenever I say one number divides the another number without leaving a remainder, then R is equal to N mod M. What is the value of N? 966 mod 434. If we divide 966 by 434, the remainder is what? 98. R is
98.
98. N is equal to M. That is, copy the value of the old value of M to N. That is, the previous value of N, 966, will be replaced by 430.
90.
Then M is equal to R. M is equal to R means the recent value of R is 98. This is the end of the first iteration. Then let us go for the second iteration. In the second iteration, N is equal to 434. M is equal to what? 98. Once again, continue. While M does not divide N, M is 98. 98 does not divide 434. The condition is true. That's why R is equal to N mod M. R is equal to N mod M is, what is the value of N? 434 mod 98. That is
98.
the difference what? 42. That's why I'm storing the remainder in the variable R. Now let us take N is equal to M. What is N is equal to M? N is equal to M is the old value of
Old value.
M. Old value of M is what? 98. That will be get copied to N. Then the next step is M is equal to R. M is equal to R means the recent value of R. M is equal to what? 42. Now let us go to the third iteration. In third iteration, M is 42, N is 98. Let us apply the Euclid's algorithm. While M does not divide N. All of you are studying or not? 42 does not divide 98. Definitely 42 will not divide 98. The condition is true. If the condition is true, execute the next step. R is equal to N mod M. N is 98 mod 42. If we divide 98 by 42, the remainder you are getting is what?
14.
14. Okay. Then next, N is equal to M. N is equal to M means 42. M is equal to R. M is equal to R means 14.
14.
Let us go to the fourth iteration. Let us go to the fourth iteration. In the fourth iteration, M is 14. N is 42. Now, while M does not divide N, 14 does not divide 42. 14 threes are
ಯಾರೋ
40. What? False. That's why the false.
ಎಲೆಕೋಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀನು ಕಂಟಿಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಕಂತೀವಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ
ಏನೋ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಪ್ಪ.
ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೈಕ್ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡೋರೆ ಸರ್. ದರ್ಶನ್ ಮೈಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡು. ಕಾವ್ಯ ಮೈಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡು.
ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾರನ್ನು.
Please switch off the
ರಕ್ಷಿತಾ
ಒಬ್ರೊಬ್ರನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಆಯ್ತಾ?
ಹಾ ಸರ್.
See, 14 does not divide 42. False. That's why return. What is the last statement? Return m. What is return m? What is the value of m? 14. 14 is the GCD. The GCD of 434 and 966 is 14. That is same in school level algorithm as well as in the Euclid's algorithm. Both the results are what? Same. But I can say that Euclid's algorithm is better than your the school level algorithm, because see, for example, whenever I want to find out the prime factors of 434, I need to test the prime. Now I need to divide by, first I will divide by 2, next I will divide by 3, next I will divide by what? 5. That means don't think that just by seeing 2 into 7 into 31 we have only 3 divisions. We require more than 3 divisions. Similarly, between 7 and 31 we have many prime numbers. 7, after that we have 9, then we have 11, then we have like that. I need to test for every prime number in between 7 and what? 31. That's why your Euclid's algorithm, your school level algorithm requires more divisions compared to the Euclid's algorithm. See, let us compare the Euclid's algorithm. In the first iteration, I will do one division, division number 1. In the second iteration, I will do one more division, division number 2. In the third iteration, I will do one more division, that is 42 does not divide 98, division number 3. Then in the fourth iteration, 14 does not divide 42. Totally approximate number of divisions are what? 4. 3 divisions for iterations. The last division is to exit from the loop. Exit from the loop. This way number of divisions are what? 4. But in case of school level algorithm, many more divisions than Euclid's, because between 2 and 7 we have many prime numbers. We have prime numbers 3 and 5. Also between 7 and 31. That means whenever I want to find out the prime factors in the school level algorithm, we require more number of divisions compared to what the Euclid's algorithm. As the number becomes larger and larger, assume that m is some 100 digit and n is some 100 digit. It is very difficult to find out the prime factors by using the school level algorithm. That's why the best algorithm is what? The Euclid's algorithm, because as the number becomes larger every time, the value of your m and n will be keep on reducing. All of you observe here, in the first iteration m is 434, n is 966. In the second iteration m is 42, n becomes 98. The third iteration m is 14, then n is equal to 42. That means even though the number is larger, your Euclid's algorithm reduces the number into smaller number. Finally, it is going to return the GCD as what? 14. That's why you can say that Euclid's algorithm is the fast algorithm compared to what your school level algorithm. All of you understood that? Just now you understood the meaning of the fast algorithm. The fast algorithm is any algorithm which it takes the less amount of time and it has to return the proper result. Thereby comparing the school level algorithm, and the one is what the UTRIS algorithm. After that, let us see some basic definitions. Before we go in deep into the subject, let us see some basic definitions. First, let us see the meaning of the problem. Let's take one example. Before I say the definition of a problem, first let us see what do you mean by a problem. See, the problem may be finding the GCD of two numbers. Every problem will have some valid input, that is valid input and some acceptable output. You take any problem in our day-to-day life, every problem will have some valid input, some acceptable output. If I take a GCD of two numbers, the valid input is 36 and 48, then acceptable output is 12. Similarly, assume that I want to find the shortest path on a map from the source is Bangalore, then the destination is Mysore. For the problem of finding the shortest path on a map, input is Bangalore, Mysore, and some atlas map that you are going to refer. Then what is the output we are expecting? The output is the actual shortest paths that you obtained after looking at the map. Now let us take one more problem of finding the meaning of the word in a dictionary. The input may be the word. Assume that I want to find out the meaning of the word evolution. Then the dictionary, the dictionary I'm referring is what the Oxford Dictionary. Then what is the expected output? The expected output is the actual output, actual meaning that you are going to come across after looking inside the dictionary. Let's take one more problem. Given an X-ray, I want to determine whether is there any disease or not. What is the input to this problem? The input to this problem is actually X-ray. Actually X-ray is the input to this problem. Now, what is the acceptable output? After looking at the X-ray, the doctor is going to decide, yes, is there any disease or there is no any disease. That means, if you take any problem, every problem will have some valid input and acceptable output. The input valid for one problem is not same for another problem. For example, for GCD problem, 36 and 48 constitute the input for the GCD problem. It doesn't make a sense for finding the meaning of the word in a dictionary. Similarly, the input for the finding the meaning of the word in a dictionary doesn't make a sense for finding the GCD of two numbers. That is, the input valid for one problem may not be valid for another problem. By all these things, we can give some sophisticated definition of a problem. Problem can be defined like this. Problem is specification of what are valid inputs and what are acceptable outputs. I think all of you are understanding what do you mean by problem. See, if we take the GCD problem, the problem is to find the GCD. The valid input is 36 and 48 and acceptable output is some positive integer 12. Similarly, for finding the shortest path, the valid input is the source and the destination, the map that you are providing. Then the actual output is the actual shortest path that you come across after looking at the map. See, after knowing the definition of problem, let us move on to further definition. See, that's what I'm saying here. Input valid for one problem may not be same for another problem. Okay, and it doesn't make a sense. Let us take input instance. What do you mean by input instance? A value x is an input instance for the problem P if x is valid as per the specification. See, if I take the GCD of two numbers, as per the specification of the GCD, the valid input is the two positive integers. 36 and 48 together constitute the valid input instance for the GCD problem. Similarly, Bangalore-Mysore map together constitute the input instance for the finding the shortest path on a map. That's what I'm saying here. 26 and 48 together constitute input instance for the GCD problem, and Bangalore-Mysore map, map is an example for input instance for shortest path problem. Whenever I say input instance, your algorithm or your problem should behave properly, not for smaller input. You should work properly even for the larger input. For example, assume that if I take the GCD of two numbers, if I give m is 100 digit, n is 100 digit, in spite of that, if your algorithm returns the answer very quickly, then I can say that is the best algorithm. Similarly, for finding the meaning of the word in a dictionary, if I have only 10 pages and 100 words, that is not the best algorithm. If I have some 1000 words and if I have some 1000 pages, then if you are able to perform the meaning of the word in a dictionary in a faster manner, then I can say that is the best algorithm. Similarly, if I have in case of finding the shortest path on a map, if I have only some 5 cities and with a map, I can easily find out the shortest path from Bangalore to Mysore. I can't say that is the best algorithm. If I have 1000 cities and with a map, in spite of that, I'm able to find out the shortest path in a faster manner, I can say that yes, that is the best algorithm. That's what your algorithm has to behave properly, even though the value of input also increases. Then only I can say that is the best algorithm. Now finally, let us move on to the definition of an algorithm. An algorithm, this is the actual definition given in the textbook. An algorithm is a sequence of unambiguous instructions for solving a problem, that is for obtaining the required output for any legitimate input in a finite amount of time. That means an algorithm is a sequence of unambiguous instructions. Unambiguous in the sense, whenever I define an algorithm, I should not have any confusion in converting the algorithm into a program. For example, in the school level algorithm, he has mentioned find the prime factors, but he has not given how to find out the prime factors. There is some ambiguity in finding the prime factors. For obtaining the required output, let us take the Euclid's algorithm for finding the GCD. The output is to obtain the GCD for any legitimate input. Legitimate input in the sense, proper input in a finite amount of time. Your algorithm should terminate. You should not take years to complete. This is the meaning of the algorithm. Once again, I repeat, this is very, very important in an exam or the Viva. An algorithm is a sequence of unambiguous instructions for solving any problem, that is for obtaining the actual output for any proper input in a stipulated amount of time. That means your algorithm should terminate after it. For example, in the GCD problem, in the second example, it has written the result GCD as what? 14. After how many iterations? 4 iterations. It should not end up in an infinite loop. That is the meaning of the finite amount of time. Example is Euclid's algorithm. I'm going slow or fast? Are you understanding? Say.
Yes, sir, we are understanding.
Okay. Now,
Sir, I think 40 minutes has been,
Sir,
40 minutes is going to complete.
now we
This
can
means
start on-
this meeting is going, or else we have to start a new meeting.
over 40 minutes.
I don't know, sir, properly. I will see that.
Yes, sir.
again we have to join.
We can start, continue or not.
We can continue, sir.
Okay. Once we know the definition of algorithm, let us see the properties of algorithm. This is also a very, very important question from the point of examination. There are 6 features or the properties of algorithm. Every algorithm should have the input, output, definiteness, finiteness, effectiveness. Another one is the flexibility.
Flexibility.
Okay. What do you mean by input? Just now you see, every algorithm should have some valid input. If I take the finding the shortest path on a map, the valid input is the source and the destination and the map. If I want to find out the meaning of the word in a dictionary, the input is the dictionary along with the word that you are searching for. Then what is the output in the with respect to the dictionary problem? The actual output is the actual meaning of the word evolution after looking at the dictionary. Every algorithm should have some input, valid input, and some acceptable outputs.
Output.
Definiteness, finiteness, effectiveness, and the flexibility. Now let us first I'll go for finiteness. Finiteness in the sense your algorithm should terminate after finite amount of time after returning the results. That is nothing but what the finiteness. Now definiteness in the sense of every step in the algorithm should be, every logic or the steps of the algorithm should be clearly understood. If you take the Euclid's algorithm, one can clearly understood the each and every step in an algorithm, the logic of the algorithm without any confusion. That is nothing but what the definiteness. Then finiteness means your algorithm should terminate after finite amount of time after returning the results. Then effectiveness and the flexibility. Let us go for flexibility. For example, there are 60 students in a class. If I given the problem to find the GCD of 2 numbers, every person can write an algorithm for finding the, there will be 60 algorithms for finding the GCD of 2 numbers. That means all the persons will be given the flexibility. Out of that, I am going to select the best algorithm.
Best.
That is what the effectiveness. That is what the effectiveness. See, these are the some of the important properties of an algorithm. The question may be raised in an examination. What is an algorithm and what are the properties of an algorithm? Okay, so far you understood what do you mean by an algorithm? Then what are the important properties of an algorithm? Once we know the definition of an, so far we have studied the meaning of the problem. What do you mean by a problem? Then what do you mean by input instance? Then we studied an algorithm. Then we studied the properties of algorithms. Okay. Now let us go for the, let us concentrate on the analysis framework. See, the subject itself says design and analysis of algorithms. First, we need to design the algorithm. Then next, we need to analyze an algorithm. If you, let us take an example. If you want, let us take manufacturing of a bike. First, they are going to manufacture the bike. They are going to design the bike. Then, once they design the bike or manufacture the bike, then only they are going to analyze the performance of a bike in terms of mileage through several other parameters. In the similar manner, the main objective in the analysis is to design the most efficient algorithm. Most efficient algorithm in the sense, the algorithms which gives the answers very quickly or they run very fast. That is, they are called as what the most efficient algorithms. For example, VTU is going to conduct a final semester examination. On what basis we are going to judge the efficiency of a student? We are going to judge the efficiency of a student based on
Marks.
the marks scored in what? The final examination. We are going to, all the students are going to write the examination. Out of that, who is the best student? That's what I am interested. Let's take one more example. This 100 meters running is going on, a running race. Some 5 persons are running. Their objective is to reach from source to destination.
Yes.
Out of that, whoever person reaches the destination fast is called as the best algorithm. Is the best algorithm. The person who is the person who is going to cross the boundary first is using the best algorithm. If I want to find out the efficiency of an algorithm, it depends on two factors. One is the space efficiency, another one is the time efficiency. Both the parameters are very, very important. See, space efficiency in the sense amount of space consumed by an algorithm. Amount of space consumed by an algorithm. Then time efficiency in the sense the amount of time required for completion of an algorithm. See, if you take any program, you are going to declare some variables, the total number of variables, that is what the space efficiency. Then time efficiency sense, the total time taken to complete your program, that is what your time efficiency. If I want to analyze an algorithm, analysis can be done by designing most efficient algorithm. If I want to select an efficient algorithm, then I require two factors. One is the space efficiency, another one is the time efficiency. See, in this subject, we are mainly concentrate on time efficiency, even though the space is also very, very important, because with respect to the mobile, the memory is very, very limited. That means the space is also important with respect to the mobile, but with respect to the computer, we have with a lot of advancement in the technology, we are neglecting the space efficiency with respect to the computer. We are only concentrating on what? The time
efficiency.
Because nowadays we are getting 4 GB, 8 GB of RAM, or more than that with respect to the computer. In the mobile itself only we are getting what the more amount of RAM, the memory. Let us concentrate on only the time efficiency. What is space efficiency? Just now defined. It is the amount of space required by an algorithm. Then what is time efficiency? Time efficiency of an algorithm is measured purely on how fast given algorithm is executed. It is also called as time complexity. Time efficiency is also called as what? Time complexity. How fast your algorithm gets executed. If you take the Euclid's algorithm, as you increase the value of m and n, you give m is equal to 5 digit, n is equal to 5 digit, m is equal to 10 digits, n is equal to 10 digits, m is equal to 1000 digits, or n is equal to 1000 digits. How exactly your algorithm return the results? How fastly your algorithm results? That is what the time efficiency is all about. Time efficiency is nothing but the amount of time taken by an algorithm for its completion. Whenever I want to find out time efficiency of an algorithm, it depends on the following factors. It depends on the speed of the computer, choice of the programming language, the compiler you are using, choice of algorithm, number of inputs or outputs. Whenever I want to find out the time complexity, it depends on the following parameters. One is the speed, the programming language, compiler you're using, choice of algorithm. For example, one of the person may use i5 processor with a 500 gigahertz or 1.5 gigahertz. Another person may use i7 processor with 2 gigahertz. Then some of the person may use the Python programming language for implementing the Euclid's algorithm. Another person may use the C++ or Java. Then some person may use the Turbo C compiler, or another person may use the Borland C compiler. That means whenever I want to find out the time efficiency, I can't use these three parameters for finding the time efficiency, because speed of the computer varies from one person to the another person. Then the same algorithm may be implemented in different programming languages. One may implement in Java, another may implement in Python. Then it also does not depend on the compiler you are using. That's why we are going to take only two parameters. One is the choice of the algorithm, another one is the number of inputs or outputs. Choice of the algorithm is either you may use the school level algorithm or you may use the Euclid's algorithm. Or number of inputs or the size of input. Number of inputs or size of, if you take the number of inputs in the sense, if you take the quicksort algorithm, as the value of n increases, the time taken by the quicksort also increases. Number of size of input means, in the GCD problem with respect to the Euclid's algorithm, m and n may be 10 digits, 20 digit or 100 digit or 1000 digits. That is nothing but the number of inputs. That's why we are going to concentrate on the choice of an algorithm or the number of or the size of inputs. These are the parameters we need to consider while finding the time efficiency, but we can't consider the first three parameters because they vary from one computer to the another computer. That's why we let us concentrate on the last two parameters. Okay? But if I want to measure the weight, I can use the kg as the parameter. If I want to measure the water, I can use the liter. If I want to measure the distance, I can use the kilometer or the meters. But if I want to find out the time efficiency of an algorithm, we should have some parameter that does not dependent on either of the speed, choice or the compiler. We should have some independent parameter. See, what is that independent parameter? That independent parameter is called as the basic operation. What do you mean by basic operation? See, if you take the bubble sort algorithm, bubble sort program, we have two loops for I equal to 0, I less than or equal to n minus 2, I plus plus. Then for j is equal to 0, j less than or equal to n minus 2 minus I, j plus plus. In this, within that loop, I have two statements. If a of j greater than a of j plus 1, then swap a of j comma a of j plus 1. Out of these two statements, the first statement is the basic operation. The basic operation is the one that will be executed maximum number of times. That is called as for the basic operation. See, here I have swap a of j and a of j plus 1. Yeah, if the number on the left is greater than the number on the right, then only the statement inside the if statement swap a of j will be, every time the swap will not be executed. Only if this condition is true, then only this swap will be executed. Out of these two statements, the statement which will be executed maximum number of the comparison statement. That is, if a of j greater than what? A of j plus 1. This operation is called as what? The basic operation. The basic operation is an operation that executed maximum number of times in an algorithm. See here, let us assume the outer loop will be executed n times, the inner loop will be executed n times, then basic operation will be executed how many times? N into n, how many times? N square times.
N square.
That's why I can say that the time efficiency of the bubble sort algorithm is what? N square. Because the for every value of I and j, this statement will be executed. The basic operation will be executed how many times? Totally n square time. Okay. Now let's take one more basic operation. For I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to n, I plus. How many times this statement will be executed? N times. If I is equal to 3, this statement will be executed 3 times. If I is equal to 100, it will be executed 100 times. If I is equal to n, it will be executed how many times? N times. That's why I can say this is the basic operation. Let us take one more example. I have 2 for loops. For I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1. For every time this printf gck will be executed. Assume that the outer loop will be executed n time, the inner loop will be executed n time. Totally how many times? N into n, n square time.
Square.
That's why the basic operation will be executed how many times? N square time.
N square times.
That means by this, why I am using this basic operation is, in this subject, we are going to mentally execute an algorithm. Mathematically, we are going to find out the time efficiency. That means whether you find out, whether you say in India or throughout the world, I can say that this statement will be executed how many times? N square times, irrespective of the computer. I'm not worrying about the computer here. I'm worrying about only the algorithm. Okay. Now, what is the definition? The operation that contributes most towards the running time of an algorithm is called as the basic operation. Which operation which increases the running time of an algorithm? That is called as what? The basic operation. The basic operation is the most time consuming operation in an algorithm. There are many operations. Here I have 2 operations. One is the exchanging, another one is the comparison. Out of this, the most time consuming operation is what? The comparison operation. Every time this statement will be executed. That's why I can say that this is the basic operation. Okay. The basic operation is the most time consuming operation in an algorithm. The number of times the basic operation is executed depends on the size of the input. For example, in the GCD problem, while m does not divide n, that is the basic operation. As the value of n increases, then the basic operation, the number of times the basic operation will be executed also increases. For example, if I say I is equal to 100, how many times the basic operation will be executed? 100 times. If I say I is equal to 10,000, n is equal to 10,000, how many times it will be executed? 10,000 times. Then what are the given an algorithm? If I have an algorithm, how to identify the basic operation? Given an algorithm, we can easily identify the basic operation. Normally, a statement in the innermost loop in an algorithm. If you take a bubble sort, the innermost statement is the if a of j greater than a of j plus 1. If you take the addition of 2 matrices, c of I comma j is equal to a of I comma j plus b of I comma j. That is the basic operation. In the multiplication operation, while multiplying the 2 matrices, c of I comma j equal to a of I comma k plus b of I comma j star. That is the basic operation. The if statement that compares 2 elements while sorting. Just now I showed no in the bubble sort, if a of j greater than a of j plus 1. That is the basic operation. Why I am concentrating on basic operation is, if you know the basic operation, find out the total number of times the basic operation is executed. That gives your time complexity of an algorithm. See, for example, in the matrix addition, which is the basic operation, c of I comma j is equal to a of I comma j plus b of I comma j. How many loops will be there in the? This is the ith loop. Another one is the jth loop. How many times this will be executed? N square time. Because of how many loops? 2 loops.
2 loops.
To find the time efficiency, it is required to compute the total number of times the basic operation is executed. Time efficiency can be calculated as shown below. Let B be the execution time of basic operation. then let T of n be the total number of times the basic operation is executed. See, for example, then T of the time efficiency of any algorithm is given by this relation. T of n is approximately equal to B times C of n, where B is the time required to execute one basic operation. C of n is the total number of times the basic operation is executed. Okay. See, for example, in this example, assume that x is equal to x plus 1 will take, this is the basic operation, it will take 1 unit of time. How many unit of time? 1 unit of time. That is your B, or 1 second, or 1 minute, or 1 second, like that. That is B. Total number of times your statement is executed, that is your C of n. Total number of times the basic operation will be executed how many times? N time.
N.
1 into n. 1 into n is how much?
N square.
N. 1 into n is how much? N. That's why the time complexity of this statement is how much? N. The time complexity of this statement is what? N. The basic operation will take 1 unit of time. Total number of times the basic operation will be executed n time. 1 into n is how much? N. Similarly, if you take the bubble sort, assume that if a of j greater than a of j plus 1 will take 1 unit of time. Total number of times the basic operation will be executed how many times? N square. 1 into n square is how much? N square. That's why T of n, the time complexity of the bubble sort is B is 1, C of n is total number of times is what? N square. 1 into n square is how much? N square.
N square.
This is how we can find out the time efficiency of an algorithm by using the basic operation. So far we have seen what do you mean by the basic operation, then what do you mean by the problem, algorithm, then finally the time efficiency, another one is the space efficiency. Shall we stop or continue?
Yes, sir.
Continue. Stop madada, continue na.
Sir, I think we have to start another one meeting, sir. It's going 40 minutes.
40 minutes completed.
Stop madada.
Sir.